This episode starts late at night with Granny Smith banging on a pan, shouting that the Timberwolves are coming. After Spike at your service, this has gone from funny to terrifying. But in all seriousness, she claims that the Zap Apples are coming, and that seems to make every pony happy. In the morning, Applejack and Big Mac are busy putting buckets underneath trees, while Apple Bloom is about to be instructed on how to make Zap Apple jam. She gets handed a broom for sweeping. Outside, a storm electrifies the trees and grows some leaves on them. Meanwhile, Apple Bloom and Granny Smith are hopping over watering cans while shouting the alphabet. How do you come up with something like that? Diamond Tiara and her father walk by. Her father's name is Filthy Rich, and he seems excited for the upcoming Zap Apple harvest, claiming that he gets the first 100 jars. While he's talking to Granny Smith, Diamond Tiara mocks Apple Bloom, and tries to get her to be embarrassed by Granny Smith's behavior. Yes, Diamond Tiara is an asshole and deserves to die in a fire. That has been established in a previous episode. Apple Bloom and Granny Smith go into town, and, with Diamond Tiara's advice, Granny Smith's eccentric behavior proves embarrassing at every possible opportunity. She bites into a pan, has bees' nests on her chin, and shouts out loudly so Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon can hear her, and they mock Apple Bloom. We've already established that they're both assholes. Why is this necessary? The next day, Filthy Rich is giving his presentation for an event called Family Appreciation Day, something that happens every Monday. And it's Apple Bloom's turn next time. But that's Zap Apple Harvest Day, and both Big Mac and Applejack will be busy. Of course, Diamond Tiara, in an attempt to embarrass Apple Bloom, suggests her Granny Smith, and Cheerilee seems to like the idea. Apple Bloom tries to convince Applejack to forget the harvest, but is unable to. Zap apples are way too important. Speaking of which, the next sign, crows appear. And in some pretty cool visuals, the trees get some blue blossoms. That's something I probably should mention. This is definitely one of the more visually impressive episodes of Season 2. Apple Bloom tries to talk to Scootaloo and Sweetie Belle, and together they try to get her out of her future embarrassment. First, Apple Bloom tries to fake being sick, but that doesn't work. Then, when they see some meteors, they try to harvest the Zap Apples in order to get the job done before Family Appreciation Day. Unfortunately, the apples aren't ripe yet, so when Sweetie Belle bucks a tree, she gets electrocuted. Hey, don't scold me for laughing at this. Scootaloo's laughing too. And picking the apples doesn't work either. Next, they get Cheerilee to come to the farm, and they puppet a sleeping Granny Smith. It fails when Granny Smith wakes up. Also, the Zap Apples become ripe. In one last-ditch attempt, the CMC give Granny Smith an invitation to a distant relative. It almost works, but Granny Smith appears right on time when the relative was actually on the train.
I can't wait to hear Granny Smith's presentation, if she can remember any of it.
Diamond Tiara, are you making fun of an elder for potentially forgetting things? Considering that Granny Smith seems to have the earliest stages of Alzheimer's in this episode, that's incredibly low, even for you. Luckily, I figured out her evil plan. She wants me to mark down an episode because of her despicable behavior, but I'm not going to let her win. Not this time. Granny Smith begins telling her story. When she was a child, there was no Ponyville. She and her family were travelers. One day, they went to Canterlot and saw Princess Celestia. She saw that they were tired from traveling and showed them a location where they could settle. They settled and began planting. Unfortunately, it wasn't long before they began running low on food. One night, even knowing the dangers, Granny Smith wandered into the everfree forest looking for some kind of food, and then she came across a Zap Apple tree. While she was picking them, Timberwolves appeared. She quickly ran home and began banging on a pan, which startled them off. Soon they planted the Zap Apples, and trees grew instantly. Over the years, Granny Smith paid close attention to the signs surrounding the Zap Apples, and the special rules for making Zap Apple jam. And the jam was so good that it eventually led to other ponies settling in the town. Every one of the students is impressed by the story, and it's Silver Spoon who begins the applause. Apple Bloom rightfully rubs it in Diamond Tiara's face. When Diamond Tiara attempts to insult Granny Smith, Apple Bloom rushes to her defense. And Apple Bloom, with a newfound respect for her grandmother, begins to learn the trade of making Zap Apples. And Diamond Tiara is forced into some public humiliation. Isn't karma sweet?
Still, it's not enough.
Why do I always seem to forget that this episode exists? I mean, it's really, really good. But if you asked me to name every single episode, this would probably be the one I would forget. And I don't know why. Like I said before, there's a lot to like here. The visuals are absolutely stunning. There's a lot of cool effects you can do with lightning, and they really run with it. There's plenty of humor with Granny Smith acting like a kooky old lady, although it can get a little awkward sometimes. Most importantly, the moral, although it wasn't spelled out, is a really good one. Why do the CMC always get the best morals? The only problem, as you might have guessed, comes from Diamond Tiara. The first time she tried to get under Apple Bloom's skin, it was needed. The second time, it got old. The third time, it got annoying. And the fourth time, it got aggravating. Luckily, she, for the most part, shuts up for the second half of the episode, and at least she gets some sort of punishment at the end. I don't give half stars, and I'm never going to. But if I did, I'd give this episode 4.5 because of her and her alone. But since I'm nice, and I want to thwart Diamond Tiara's evil plan of destroying any episode she's in, I'm going to give this episode 5 stars. Ha!